for the introduction, and thank you also for the invitation to world-class business leaders for having the chance to present to you our work we've done at Waldner in terms of digital twins. And as you have seen already, for digital twin, we thought we need two guys to present. So we are the digital twins. No, just joking, of course. We are not twins, not really. We are representing a company, Waldner. So this is us. You can find us on LinkedIn. We can have a chat after that. And I just got the question why my name is here without mentioning Waldner. As you know, this conference was already planned to take place last year somewhere, and at that time I was with Waldner, and I'm an interim manager, and I supported Waldner for 3 years in introducing building information modeling, AR, VR, and as life goes on, right now I'm not with Waldner anymore because something like 1 year ago I handed over to Kolb, and he took over the work I prepared, and this is why we are here together. I let's say built the foundation, and he's building the house. 3 steps. Waldner Group. Just to give you an introduction so that you can understand the environment we are working in, because it's a very special one. Can you see it? I can switch to over here. So Waldner is a typical German Mittelstand company, a hidden champion. It's based in Wangen im Allgäu, somewhere in the woods, rural. And we see us as the world market leader for laboratory infrastructure. And you see, we are more or less everybody, everywhere on the world, on this planet. We have dealers, subsidiaries, partners, everywhere there is science taking place, where there are universities researching, and this is our world. Waldner has 3 parts. Hohenlohe, this is more education, school. Hermann Waldner is a very specialized industry 4.0 company in packaging food. And we are representing Waldner Laboreinrichtungen, the lab solution part. As I said, typical German Mittelstand, 250-60 million turnover, roughly 1,500 people, so family-owned business. And this is where we are working, in food, pharmaceuticals, etc. As I said, everywhere there is a lab, can be also in quality. This is the value proposition, and traditionally, I have to check where. Here, traditionally, we have been here in the products part. A little bit noisy over there. So, during the last years, we developed into the broad spectrum you can see here, from really design thinking workshops, co-creation workshops, consulting, really also defining the needs with our big partners. You will see an example today. Down the road to customer service, training, commissioning, etc. So we are really turnkey supplier for laboratory systems. These are the names. You obviously should know at least a few of them. The world leaders are really relying on our solutions for their laboratory equipments, and so that you can see how a modern lab looks like. It's not the Frankenstein lab somewhere in the building. It's really a modern environment. You see here, nice, clean, and now I hand over to Kolb, and he will introduce you to the VR part.
Thank you very much. Before we start with digital twins, I want to give you a short insight concerning the topic of building information modeling, or better, building information management. Who of you knows what BIM is? Give me a short sign.
Okay.
Cool. Verwaltner, it's the logic evolution of the way we plan, build, and operate. At first there was 2D. Everyone knows 2D. You have a pencil, you have a wall, you can sign some drawings and so on. Later on, computers arrived, and you can do the same thing in 2D. CAD is computer-aided design. You use computers to make the same thing which you have done with your hands. And then the third dimension came to the CAD systems, and then there was BIM. The question is, what's the difference between BIM and 3D CAD? It's the information, it's the I in the BIM. But today's topic, it's not about BIM, but for me it's important to show what Walden is doing. And X stands for all the innovation coming around BIM. For example, artificial intelligence. What can you do with a BIM model, a 3D model, or a digital twin, combining it with artificial intelligence? Or, for example, VR, today's topic, or big data, and how you can generate knowledge of data and decisions. Building information modeling, we've heard about it now, and it's a gear of the digitization and the revolution of the plan, build, operate, decommission lifecycle, short PBOD lifecycle. And the thing is, you have an asset, you have the lifecycle of the asset, and you have data. And the challenge is to put that data into context of the model and using an object-oriented data structure. That's a few words about BIM. Here we can see the life cycle of a laboratory manufacturer. Here in gray, you all know these processes from pre-sales to project management, to production, to assembly on the construction side, and at the end, aftermarket and service. And we separate it in plan, build, operate, and decommission. And the challenge is to combine the real world, which starts in the production, where the digital twin is built, and the digital world. And the main challenge for us, which we are facing right now, is that you build a continuous, consistent digital twins. And to have a continuous digital twin, you need a homogeneous infrastructure. The bad thing is don't use many different software, because you will have data problems and problems in the end. So the challenge for us is to work with one single digital twin and not with 5 or 3 or 10. A short recap. We all know what a digital twin is. Digital twin is a representation of a physical asset. In the end, it's an asset, digital one. And for us, it's something like a data container. The geometry is the container, and the data is the content. Like here, this container ship. The ship is the container, the digital twin, and he's transporting the containers, and that's similar for the data. Now let's come to VR. Mark Zuckerberg once said, VR is the final computing platform. What does this mean? When you're thinking about virtual reality, everybody thinking about super fancy, cool 3D room, putting on the glasses and flying around and having much fun. But it's only one use case. And this is a use case, in my opinion, in my personal opinion, for marketing and communication and for, between the customer. But there are several other interesting use cases. For example, collaboration using the digital twin, being together in a virtual reality and having a look at the assets, the digital twins, the floor plan, the model-based floor plan. or the sampling process. Together with the customer, you can have a look at what the customer gets in the end. And the customer, and that's the nice thing, the customer can have an impact. And the third thing is you can do some simulations, for example, daylight simulations and so on. Right now we have a project in Switzerland, in Basel. The customer is Roche, and Roche planned new buildings for their laboratories here, and we got an order for 16,000 square meter of labs in 36 lab floors and 2 buildings, these 2 buildings. And the project right now is delivered in a BIM project. That's the real project, and the pilot project, and that's why there's study project, is the customer wanted that we build up a prototype of kind of VR usage for the employees, for the real users of the future lab spaces and workplaces. And therefore we partnered with Kreativraum. It's Ralf. It's a startup from Karlsruhe, Germany, and they are specialized in VR simulation in the construction industry, and also combining the BIM philosophy with VR and having an interactive design process. And they're offering some nice features. For example, you can go into the VR in real life here in an area of around about 100 square feet, or you can sit on a chair having on your glasses. But I personally do not recommend this, because you get a little bit confused when you're sitting and in the same time you fly around in the virtual reality.
And the interesting part is, you see, we have 16,000 square meters, and the task was for us to deliver 3 complete floors with 400 square meters each in a VR model. So we had 1,200 square meters real one-to-one VR model, so that they can walk through their new laboratory to feel the new situations and to see the colors, etc.
Only for the employees.
Only for the employees. We will come to this.
Next thing is Kreativraum is offering an on-site usage of VR or decentralized usage of remote VR.
Yeah.
And the other thing is it's an interactive thing, and in the sampling process you can interact, the customer can interact, the employees can interact, and you can modify your lab plannings, for example. Later on we will see some videos where you can see that together with Kreativraum we put some objects in an empty room together with the customer. And these are the 3 stages. Ralf already told us.
And just to give you an here on the right side, this is the River Rhine, and these are the old buildings where the Christian is just indicating, and there are something like 400 different laboratories, 400, and they are moving from this old late 60, early 70 buildings to a very new one, into 32 floors. So from decentralized small labs into modern new ones, and for the management, the change management process was very important to show them how it will be working in a, let's say, big laboratory compared to a small one where you only have 2 or 3 or 4 people working.
They didn't want to handle out the employees, for example, 2D plans and put it on a table and say, yes, this is the plannings. So, and here is a catalog with some furnitures and colors, and have fun. Nobody can imagine anything. I know what I'm talking about because my background is architecture. I'm an architect, and I know in the past that our customers have problem for imagination. What we did with Kreativraum, we gave them our 3D object data, for example, as an open BIM format RFC or closed BIM Revit data, and they did some magic. They make some polishing on the objects and put it some shaders on it and put it some light points in the model. And the interesting thing is they programmed kinematics.
Yeah.
That you can use the digital twin, that you can interact, that you can open the window and close it, and you can use it like a real fume hood.
These are pictures from the town hall meeting they organized for 500 people. So they invited 500 people to show them how the new laboratory will look like, and they defined some use cases they are going through every day. For example, taking some chemicals, going to a bench, preparing it, going to a fume hood, and doing the experiment and research. And they were walking through the 500 people through the new workflows they will be experiencing. So they are really, and this will be delivered in 2 years. It will be delivered, the project, yeah?
Yeah.
So already 3 years before they will enter the new laboratory, they can really see how it will look like, and they can influence a little bit the situation in the room. I want to have the microscope more here, and I want to have this centrifuge over there also. So they can really get the feedback from the scientists.
And this picture shows that it was like in a cinematics.
Yeah.
Two people here on the right hand screen. You can see what these two people are seeing right now, and that's the camera focusing on them. And this is the public. So let's have some videos, not only words and pictures. Now you can see the perspective of one employer, and this is the other one. And they go around, they opened and closed and interact with the furniture. But this is not a Waldner furniture. Here it's a fume hood by Waldner.
And you can see it's really dense, yeah. So it's aisles with laboratory furniture, and you have then 50 people working in one room instead of 4 people working in one room, and they want to really show them how the new situation will look like. Yeah. And you know, once you have the VR goggle on, you are in this space, and you can really, feel and sense it.
Yeah, but it's also possible to use a personal computer or a notebook like this one. You can sit in front of it, and we did some experiments. We invited our colleagues from Singapore or Moscow, and in this specific example, we invited colleagues from Singapore, and some Roche employees came to Wangen headquarters, and then we had our interactive and collaborative VR experience in the same time zone. So we were, I guess, 3 people in the room.
Yeah.
This video shows it. 1, 2, 3.
So you can have different people from different continents in the same room at the same time. So you don't need to travel, and of course, in these COVID times, it's not the worst thing to reduce traveling.
This person has a cursor in his hands, and he's changing, for example, the surface, the colors of the floor or of the furniture or of the tables.
And if you look out of the window, this is the city of Basel. Yeah, so it's a 1-by-1 digital twin.
So it's a sampling process just in time.
Yeah.
And due to the fact that the digital twins or the BIM models are intelligent, you can gather some information, for example, measurements. Or, hello, I'm in fume hood. I'm a product of Waldner Labs. This is not a product of Waldner, but it shows how you can interact with it, and you can see once again the kinematics and the vision of the user in that moment.
And of course, everything is wireless, so you can really move on a surface without cable, and then can really focus on what is going on.
That's what I'm talking about, information. So you can gather and pull out the information of the product, of the digital twin. And in my opinion, it's really interesting. You can do interactive plannings. For example, in an empty room, you can place some geometry inside, and then you have in the same time the impression, what does it look like.
You can put in some devices from Philips there, for example.
And this is
daylight simulation.
Yeah, daylight simulation.
Because you've seen there's a lot of glass in these rooms. They wanted to know how it feels in this, let's say mid-June, and compared to mid-December, where you have reflections, etc., etc. And also then comparing 32 floors. First floor is different from the 27th floor.
And one more thing concerning the topic of building information modeling. Such a building or such a model consists of several models of several stakeholders of a project.
Yeah.
For example, an architect or an MEP planner, or for example, a lab planner, or the planner of these glass walls. And there you can have the information of the data, and for example here the structural model of the structure planner. I mean, using these information, you can find some decisions concerning your plannings of the lab. And this use case we didn't adopt in the study because Creative Raum developed it later on after the study project, and it's a budget tool. And you have the customer's budget here, and it's an example. And you have the object-oriented data, the twins, and you can put all as well as cost information to the model. And so you can, while planning, you have an overview about the budget and what's happening to your budget if you put several objects in the room.
And this is a very important part. So the demand for this budget tool was coming out of the co-creation process, because the Roche said, okay, the department manager has a budget of, let's say, 150,000 Swiss francs, and he needs to define what he needs, but he is not allowed to be over the budget. So it's a very fast and effective tool to get these things done.
Gamification is cool, but we have to be realistic and we have to have an A on the budget.
Yeah.
So now it turns
green, red.
Budget, game over.
And once you're done, you save it, and that's it. Yeah, it goes back into the BIM model, and everything is set.
And another important thing is, once the customer finishes sampling process and have put it all, the objects, or for example, the Waldner-specific products into the room, you can take some pictures as a kind of documentation.
Yeah.
And the documentation is stored in the model, for example, or in the data storage, for example, in any ERP system.
These are the pictures. This was the flash. Cool.
And in the end, some lessons learned for us. First of all, you all know, if you have such a way of planning, interacting, sampling, and using using a digital twin or digital twins or a whole BIM model, it's transparent. The whole sampling process is transparent, and you then have to explain the customer what he's getting and what he's paying for. So the communication between the customers is easier. So the result, and another result, is an optimized concept finding. And in the end, acceleration of the sampling process. And if you are in a decentralized system by remote, you can reduce travel costs, another nice side effect, and time savings. And we also recognize that VR is not just VR and simple marketing. It's more than marketing, in our opinion.
Yeah, so we are talking about a virtual twin at the end of the day. And from a management perspective, I see these benefits. So really, it is very important for the user at the end to feel the new situation, and you can really feel it. A printout plan is nothing. So you can really feel how is a green color, how is a blue color, how is a gray color. Yeah. So it's don't underestimate this. And at the end, they also spend more money, because they see, okay, maybe this is really nicer, but our budget, so we have to go back to the CEO. And it was at the end of the day here, so that they really spent more money. And also important for the user, they can simulate workflows. They can really go there and do what they always do and rearrange things before they are put into place. Because we experience quite often that at day one, when everything is finished, grand opening, they come to the lab and say, okay, this is how it looks like. I need some changes. You know what I mean? And it is very likely that you have less changes if you integrate the users in the early phase. And at the end, it's also interesting through this process for us, from a sales point of view, you get in touch with top management. Because once top management hears that there's something going on with VR and you can see everything really nice and shiny, you get to know these guys. And it's also very positive at the end of the day to know the people who are signing the budget. Yeah. And of course, it's COVID-19 compliant. You know, there are also some VR caves where 5-6 people are in one room together. So here you can distribute. You can sit in different locations or rooms. And at the end, it's a very, in our experience was very positive. We won the project. The customers are happy, and more important, the users are happy. Yeah. So I think we are right on time, 44. And we have a discussion later on. So I think questions can be addressed then. Right?
One single notice by my side. I already mentioned the process of BIM. And today we learned how you can combine a 3D model and VR. Yeah. And for Waldner, BIM is more than only having a model and a VR. So there are several other use cases for us. We are developing right now in the process of the BIM implementation. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ralf and Christian. Very interesting presentation.